They did introduce a new villain, Lady Deathstrike, badass, hot. I want to take her
That
out for
scene
some egg
was-
rolls and sushi.
Yeah, dude.
Holy fuck, she's
scene,
hot.
well, those are some of my favorite comic books, the Wolverine comic books with him and the fights between her, and they did a great job of that.
You know that? Yeah, dude, that was...
God damn it, fuck!
Well,
you just got to see someone like sticking a chopstick in your back.
It's like when you grab like a thorn bush. You're like, ow, ow, fuck!
We watched a movie. Yeah. We watched a movie. We watched it. We watched a movie. Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to We Watch a Movie. I'm Jay, this is Mike, and X-Men 2 United. We're going to be united in our thoughts of X-Men.
We're a soccer team.
An attempt on the president's life by a mutant named Nightcrawler, but we don't know his name is Nightcrawler, is thwarted. He has this big knife that he was going to stab him with that had mutant freedom on the side. We're also introduced to William Stryker, who figures out that the way to control mutants and use them as a pawn is to have this liquid shit that basically, you know, he can put it on the back of your neck and you do what they want you to do. So his whole goal is to start a war between mutants and humans and get all that going on, and it's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. When you get Charles Xavier involved, that's not a good thing when he's pissed.
Yeah, the humans are against us, and they choose to listen to
Against
Stryker.
us? I'm not a mutant.
Oh, no. Oh, that's true. I am.
Oh.
Yeah, so it turns the humans against the mutants, and they've got a whole bunch of issues to deal with that. And then Wolverine's still trying to figure out his past, and that has something to do with Stryker too. And then they attack the mansion, and a whole bunch of shit goes crazy.
And Bobby Iceman is trying to figure out, how can I have sex with Anna Paquin?
God, that storyline was so stupid. Through all three movies, that is so bad. Like for one, they never show Gambit in any of these movies, right?
Yeah.
So instead, they decide to focus on the storyline of Iceman and Rogue, which I could give a shit less. Like, Anna Paquin's hot and all, but Iceman, like, why was he a main story voice?
Well, they should just call this movie X-Men, Wolverine in Canada, and Nightcrawler. That's all it was. I mean,
Mystique.
Yeah, Mystique. Okay, so overall in this movie, I think this movie was the best movie of the whole thing.
Yep,
I think it was. I think it had great characterization. I think it had great depth to the characters. I think it had great special effects. I think it was just great.
And it had some emotional impact coming at you at the end.
Yeah, it did have great emotion.
Deep emotion.
Too. The only thing I don't like, and we'll get more into that later as we review these movies, I think that, again, Cyclops took a step back. They fucking shortened his shit
They
again.
screwed him over every movie.
You know, at one point, I just want Cyclops to be like, get off my Kool-Aid, fucking Wolverine. You know, like, seriously, it's Marvel.
Now, I love Wolverine. He's my favorite X-Men, but Cyclops did deserve a more prominent role in these movies. It seems like every time the script came out, he was like, I got fucked again. Like, now I'm the Hawkeye. I'm the pawn.
Yeah.
Like, and
how can you say he's like the leader of the X-Men? He's like the main guy. It's like Captain America getting like a backseat role.
Yeah,
in all
exactly.
these movies.
And then you've got the whole. What I love about this movie though is like that's what's awesome about the X-Men is how each character interacts. So that's why it's my favorite comic book. I mean, each character has a different interaction. Like Wolverine's a badass and he's the human regrowth and all this shit like that. Adamantium can't be stopped for the most part, but then he has to go against Magneto, who's their biggest threat, and he can't do shit against Magneto.
Yeah,
I mean, Magneto's like he's Magneto's bitch, but Wolverine's attitude doesn't play well to that. He's not good at being someone's bitch. So Wolverine's constantly a smartass, and Magneto's constantly like, fuck you.
Magneto's bad. I like Magneto in this too. One thing I do like about Magneto is they focused even more on the relationship between him and Professor Xavier in like a little small way, because when Magneto's in his plastic prison from the end of the first one, Charles Xavier goes to see him and he was like, what did you tell him? What have you done? You know, Eric. And you can see the emotion in his face. Like, he's like, it's treason. Like, I told him everything. He's like, I'm sorry. He's like, but it kind of gets, he's like, you should have killed me when you had the chance, Charles. It's like, and then, but after that, when Magneto, and there's another great scene when Magneto actually is able to break out of prison and he uses the balls of steel, like, you know, with Valeria.
Balls of steel. Balls of steel.
He works those balls. He works those balls and has them.
That scene's badass though when Mystique gets that dude drunk and he's like, "There's too much iron in your blood."
That was awesome.
That was sick.
When he was like, "Sit down," he's like, "No."
But then again, I mean, the only problem I have with this movie is like, I guess the storyline, as badass as this movie was, and it had some of the best character interaction in it, the story really wasn't all that interesting because again, we're just going back to the same Wolverine Stryker situation. And Stryker, Brian Cox is a badass villain, but at the same time, he's like, I've been dealing with war since she was sucking on your mama's titty
in Woodstock.
Yeah. So I mean, and that whole storyline was just kind of whatever. But I will say, when they attack the freaking mansion,
that was great.
That one scene where Wolverine is sitting there and he gets that dude and he does the double claw in the chest, the chesticles. That scene, plus when he's like going through the hallways killing all those ops guys or whatever. Yeah. He's killing all those guys and he's like, "You want to show me? Show me!"
That was the best representation of Wolverine
ever.
You know, Rage Unleashed.
So far, I mean, we haven't seen the new Wolverine, which is why we're doing these reviews. But that was the That's the best
You
representation.
know what's actually interesting about that is they had a rated R version eventually earlier with X-Men 2 because that scene itself had so much violence in it. They had to take back and edit some stuff out because it was so over the top violent.
It's shocking because you don't see much of that kind of like just pure unleashed rage from him.
Well,
in the movies.
Yeah, and that scene was great. And then like 30 minutes later, you have another great scene at Iceman's house or Bobby's house with Pyro Let's Go, and like they shoot Wolverine in the head, and Pyro's just fucking going nuts. You know, that was cool.
That was
I
a cool
mean,
scene.
it was like this thing had a good balance between drama and interaction, and then action too. That was the main thing that it had a good balance.
You know, they say they purposely played that scene as though they wanted to make it seem as though they played it off of a kid coming out to his parents as a gay person.
Yeah.
Like they purposely did that, which I mean that scene was pretty cool. Like how his parents were like, they were like. And he was like, "What problem?" And then he turns the thing, and that his fucking little asshole brother's like, "He can turn shit into ice, and I can't."
Yeah,
I'm gonna call the cops. I'm like, "You little bitch."
I've been Bobby. I was like, Ronnie, you fucking suck. Okay, Ronnie, you suck. And then his mother's like, have you tried not being a mutant? He's like, I've tried, but I like doing ice things. It's like saying, have you tried not being gay? It's like, I've tried, but I like sucking dick. It's really, it goes. I mean, it really. I'm not trying to make fun. It really is like that. It's like, if you tried not being that, I was like, well, you can't because that's who I am. So,
yeah,
and then I think it was funny when it was like Wolverine. He's like, and he was like trying to. He's like, what mutant problem? And she's like, what are you exactly a professor of? He's like, art.
I also like when he's in there. He's like, you guys got any beer in here? Like that was some of the best Wolverine.
Yeah,
like pure.
but that goes back
stuff.
to the interaction.
Yeah.
That goes back how they focused on the character interaction, which was not necessarily missing from the first one. Didn't do as good of a job.
They just didn't have time for it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of scenes like that. Like the moment you're talking about where Pyro goes nuts. Like that scene was so cool because it's like you saw what goes on in his mind. Like he's like, I wanted to be a good guy, but I'm standing here and you guys just shot Wolverine in the head for no good reason. And I'm seeing how you guys interact with us. And he's like, in his mind, he's like, they draw that perfect line. That's why X-Men is like the perfect comic book to me. Like they just draw that perfect line between like good guys and bad guys. Like Magneto, he's not a total bad guy.
No.
Like he just wants to protect his people. He goes about it in the wrong way.
I think that
according to
actually
Xavier.
somebody said that it was more like Magneto could be considered more of a Malcolm X, and Professor Xavier is more like a Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
That's how it is. I mean, it's like they both want the same thing, but they have different ways of going about it.
And that way that Magneto toys with his mind, he's like, because he's like, I can just manipulate the fire, I can't create it. And he was like, you're God among insects.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody tell you different. Like little shit like that. Like the writing in this movie was the best of all the movies for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I know some people might have a problem with how they wrote Magneto sometimes because he was like really like he was just such a smartass in this Wolverine. I mean, no, actually, it makes sense how he's a smartass to Wolverine. He was like, Wolverine, whoever goes in that base has to be able to shut down the bridge controls. What are you gonna do? Scratch it with your claws?
I love it though because that's that weird, just awkward character dynamic. Because it's like Wolverine doesn't take shit from anybody. But I mean, you're made of metal. Magneto can like crumple you up like a piece of paper.
But the other thing that makes it, I kind of felt bad for him. It almost makes him look stupid because he's like, what?
That's the only time that happens to him though. And that's
What about So what about Nightcrawler? When they introduced Nightcrawler, you know what? I think Nightcrawler's a cool character. I've always liked him in the comic books. You know, he's like a really faith-based character. Like he loves religion and Catholicism, and he's kind of a tortured soul too. But he also sees the brighter light at the end of the tunnel. He's like, you know, people can understand us if they get to know us and stuff. But he's like, they've got to get to that point, and I pity them. And he even tells Storm that. So I mean, I think the guy that played him did okay, and I think that how they captured him on film did all right. I wish that he'd had a more of a prominent role because it kind of like after the church scene in the beginning of the movie, he was just.
I don't know. I thought that they focused on him almost too much. But then again, I mean, it's X-Men. You have your favorite characters like Cyclops that you want to see more of, but. The same.
Well,
Kurt, he was just kind of annoying to me too. The whole time he was like, you know,
Guten Tag. But yeah, I mean, I get when I said
he was kind of an idiot.
Yeah, when I said earlier, I was like, it was a Wolverine Nightcrawler show because Nightcrawler was the focal point at first, and then it really became the Wolverine show.
It always does.
Yeah, and that's because Wolverine. I know he's the most popular character. I know he's he's the X-Men. Like everything. He's like the X-Men. Wolverine, She-Hulk. Like, I got my claws. I get that, but there's so much more involved with the X-Men.
I think it's okay to give Wolverine the prominent role. I just think that they should have done a better job giving other people the right amount of roles too. And I mean, they did stupid stuff like they rewrote lines just for Storm just because Halle Berry just won.
And that gets worse in X-Men 3.
Yeah, like he didn't. Bryan Singer, as much as I like these movies and I like what he did with them, he didn't do the Josh Whedon. I mean, he didn't go for perfection other than Hawkeye with each person having the right amount of screen time. There is stuff lacking, but this one is the best of it. And then on top of that, so we got. What about the Mystique character where Wolverine's in the tent and she turns into Rogue and shit? That was kind of fucked up. There was this weird moment because she's turning into different people. She's like, "What do you want? Do you want me to be Rogue? Or you want me?" Wolverine's face is hilarious. Hugh Jackman's like.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know, maybe. But I think also when he was like having his little time with Jean Grey and she was slutting herself about and she's like, I'm gonna make out with you, but I don't want to. She's playing that hard to get, and she's like, you date the bad guy, Logan. You take the good guy home. He's like, what about having sex with the bad guy? Is that okay? So it's like, but it's like I just don't.
I like that dynamic.
I do,
but
it's like, but Cyclops wasn't there. I mean, he's in it for a second.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, you find what you're looking for, Logan? And he was like, whatever. And he's like, your bike needs gas. He's like, well, fill it up. Like, see, they could have focused on that because that animosity that exists between Cyclops and Wolverine. And if you're going to say, okay, let's make a love triangle, then focus more on that.
They did do a great job with it at one point, though. We'll go straight into that at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, the end of the movie, after the big scenes and all
but
that.
But I'm saying overarching, I mean, it's fucking Cyclops. It's
he needed a bigger part.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. And then at the end of it, so we come to the end of it, and Wolverine, we get Stryker or whatever, and I would have liked to see a cooler scene with that. I mean, it was okay. He just tied him to the freaking motorcycle, or not the motorcycle, but the helicopter. But then you got the end. They're getting ready to get away, and of course everything goes wrong. And Jean Grey's like, my telepathy has been shit all this time, but now I have to save everybody. And they're like, no! And then she goes out there, and she's in there, and she's parting the water or whatever. And then like you get the idea that she died, right? Because the stuff takes her over. That scene between
Cyclops and Wolverine
was fucking amazing.
Yeah, that was
deep.
That was heartfelt. Yeah,
that was like I almost shed a tear. I was like,
no, you're not fire!
Yeah.
And he was like, give me a hug. Or he was like, it was like one of those man hugs. I'm not comfortable. And he's like,
Wolverine's face shakes.
But he's gone. She's gone. I just want to have sex with her. What time? But I know she's your wife or girlfriend.
You know that pissed Cyclops off the whole time because he was like, why do you get to be so fucking upset? She was my girlfriend.
It was almost like, but they hated each other, but they bonded over that moment for just a second. They understood
I love
she
that,
was gone.
man.
That was a great
so
scene.
That was probably the deepest moment in the whole series. But.
Yeah, and then I didn't like, but even when she was dying, and then it was so quick though. That was just stupid when Nightcrawler was like, he's like, you go get her. He's like, she's not letting me. Oh yeah. I was like, when the fuck did she become so goddamn powerful? I know the whole Phoenix thing. We'll get into that more in Last Stand, but the Phoenix thing is a cosmic. I don't even want to get into that whole way because they did diverge a little bit with the comic books. But also, we'll talk about this really quick. They did introduce a new villain, Lady Deathstrike, badass, hot. I want to take her out for some egg rolls and sushi.
Yeah, dude.
Holy fuck, she's hot.
Well, those are some of my favorite comic books, the Wolverine comic books with him in the fights with her, and they did a great job of that.
You know that? Yeah, dude, that was.
God damn it, fuck!
Well,
you just got to see someone like sticking a chopstick in your back.
It's like when you grab like a thorn bush. You're like, ow, ow, fuck! But when she like throws out her fingernails and they like stretch out, and because you know when Stryker's like, I thought you were one of a kind, Wolverine, and then he's like, I guess not. And then she does that, and he's like, holy shit. I would have been like, let's just hug. I was like, you're sexy.
Well, you know, and that's another great character moment in this movie when he finally kills her and he pumps her full of that adamant.
And he
pumps her full
adamantium.
He pumps her full of that, and you see that shit coming out of her. You see in his face, he's like, he fucking hates it. He's like, God damn it, I know what this feels like, you know?
But
you can see that he hates it.
I don't know if it was because of that or if he was like, because remember her eyes changed. They go back to their normal, and he was like, she was never in control of herself.
Yeah.
She was controlled the entire time.
Well, yeah.
So she didn't want to
I think it's
and I didn't get like Stryker like Stryker opens the door like in the mansion when he's like Wolverine and like he wants to be friends with him again, and then he again at the mansion he's like, one thing I know better, that's not why I work. He was letting him in the base. You know, Stryker was going to let Wolverine in the base, but then he's like, I'm just going to go and kill him. You know, but
no, because he realized it wasn't him.
No, I'm talking about when Wolverine actually is going to fight Lady Deathstrike. He was like, why would you do that? Because he seemed like because Wolverine didn't remember all the shit yet.
Yeah, that is true.
So he could manipulate him and get him to do what he wanted. He's like, I'll give you all the answers.
Could have made him another soldier again.
Yeah. So I don't know. But that was another thing. I'll a little thing. I don't like how they didn't explain anything about Toad or Sabretooth. Sabretooth couldn't. I mean, you could say that Toad maybe died because he got electrocuted.
And Sabretooth's kind of like a journeyman anyway. He doesn't really tie himself to anybody. He just kind of pops in and out.
Yeah, that's true.
But but either way, they still should have at some point.
But overall, this movie was fan-fucking-tastic. I mean, you got great special effects, great character depth, like I mentioned, emotions, running
Costumes
high.
look better in this one
They
than
do.
the first one.
Everything was great. So
yay! Yeah. I'm gonna give this movie a 9.0.
I'm gonna give this movie 9.0. Actually, I was thinking about that too. Like, there's no doubt. Like, this movie is the precursor to what the Avengers will eventually become. Like everything that Whedon did, he did it 100 times better than what they did in United. But this was like the granddaddy of it. It's like, you know, you got these interactions, you got this emotion, you got this stuff, and it seems realistic that all this stuff could happen.
It's the best X-Men movie we've got.
And realistic as far as like, you know, mutants not shooting shit out of their eyes and stuff like that. I get that, but I'm just saying like it was a good basis for what Whedon could eventually base the Avengers on.
One thing I would say I didn't like is at the very end, because he's just like, we've got this folder, and he stops Tom and he's like, that's for you, and then all of a sudden he's just like looking out the window.
That was corny as fuck.
I think everything's gonna be.
The ending was corny.
That whole thing with Stryker's son, it was kind of confusing.
Jason.
Yeah, that was kind of confusing because like, who's in whose head? There's a little girl. What the fuck?
I think it was like, oh my God, William, this is just like, that's not my son! But yeah, so overall, but it's still a great movie. Overall, like, even the negative stuff that we mentioned, it's still a badass movie. It's the best X-Men, in my opinion, anyway, of the whole one.
Yeah,
of
so,
all of it.
question of the day is, what did you think about X-Men 2? We all know that you've seen it, and which character in X-Men 2 would you have liked to have seen? Which character that was in the movie would you like to see more of, and which character did you want? Like Gambit? Mine would be Gambit, man.
Yeah,
I wanted to see Gambit in one of these freaking movies. But anyways, and then villain-wise, oh my god, there's so many villains.
Well, you can't, I mean, I know you'd say Apocalypse. I love Apocalypse, but you got to dedicate a whole trilogy to Apocalypse.
Oh yeah, you got to.
What about Bishop? What about fucking Cable?
Oh my god, Bishop and Cable. Holy shit.
But that ties into Apocalypse. So
We watched a movie.